You're listening to the Casual Swinger Podcast. As your hosts, we need to warn you that the material you're about to hear may be sexual or explicit in nature. This podcast is intended for an adult audience. Now, we don't expect you to act like adults. What's the fun in that?
We're a married couple living in Florida with over 13 years of experience in the lifestyle, and we take almost nothing seriously. Casual Swinger is a variety show, meaning we'll cover everything from music to events, travel, and even the occasional hilarious screw-up. Our show is about entertainment. We're not licensed professionals.
At anything.
And our stories, commentary, and guidance should not be confused with the opinions of a licensed professional.
Now that you know, let's take those pants off and get comfy. Hey there. Welcome to another episode of Casual Swinger in our brand new podcast studio.
Right, the Casual Swinger Studios. Here we are.
I'm
Mickey
so
and Mallory.
excited. This is great. Lights and cameras and action.
Oh,
Mm.
It is weird
Good
having
stuff.
lights in your face when we do this because we usually kind of do this thing in our pajamas, right? We just kind of
Yeah.
sit around and
I mean, with what I do for a living, I'm kind of used to it now.
having lights in your face.
Anyways.
Oh, yeah. In case you didn't know, she
Yeah.
has lights in her face. from
So
time to time.
kudos to you. We had podcasted with Scott and April from Naughty Gym when we were visiting them in Nashville and decided that we wanted to incorporate video casting into our repertoire. And this is a pretty nice setup.
Thank you.
All things considered, because I know how the sausage is made. This is really dope. Well done.
Yeah, I kind of think it's cool. I mean, I think it adds another dynamic, obviously, but at the same time, it's not necessary, right? I mean, I think we'll probably kind of have a mix of the two. Maybe we'll still do occasional episodes that
Yeah.
are just audio only, where you don't have to be watching this on YouTube or some
Yeah.
other platform to really understand what it is that we're saying.
That's true. We're going to do our best to make sure that it translates to both types of platforms. And also, I'm going to need ugly girl days where I'm just wearing your t-shirt.
You couldn't be ugly if you tried. Just so you know.
And challenge accepted. Glasses, hair up, like post-workout. I'm going to need those days where I don't have to feel like, yeah.
I like you post-workout, Josephine.
Ooh, early. Too early for that.
All right, we're too early in the show for that. So, hey, guys, we're calling this show today the Unicorn Swap.
Interesting. So this is a dynamic that we've actually been playing around with ourselves and wanted to just put it out there and talk about it as a potential dynamic because I think anecdotally in our conversations with other people who have been doing this in the same realm we have, it's not as common as I thought it would have been.
No, I agree
So-
with you. I don't think it's common at all. I think that there's a lot of reasons for it that we'll get into later. But, the idea of a unicorn swap, so you guys just know what you're here for, and maybe you know what this is, and you don't give a shit, and you just want to check out right now, go straight to
Yeah,
whiskey of the month, because
it's-
that's coming at the end.
Yeah,
of it.
it's not a furry thing.
No, it's not. The unicorn swap is when two couples get together, and one person of the couple, usually the female, joins the other couple, and then in trade, the female from the other couple joins them.
Yeah.
So it's a trade of wives for effectively solo play for one of them and group play. So to join the other couple for group play.
So the architecture of a lot of these relationships, most couples in the lifestyle are seeking or very open to or start with a single female. And unfortunately, that's challenging, right? For a lot of folks, because there's not a lot in this space, not a lot that could be done about that. You can't make more single ladies. So, I mean, it's an opportunity to explore that a little further, but it does come with certain, ethical boundaries and
Yeah.
discussions and comfort levels. And I can't wait to talk about it. I'm excited.
Oh, and it's a play style dynamic that I don't think we've really covered. We've covered a lot of different things. We've talked about separate play before. So we're going to get into all of this in the main part of the show. In the meantime, why don't we talk about Podcast-A-Palooza?
I am so excited to be back at Podcast-A-Palooza. We'll be going the end of May. There are still rooms available. We've checked with Kate at Wanderlust Libertine Events, who puts on this fantastic event. We've been doing events in the lifestyle for a very long time. And when I say it's my favorite event, that's not just a bias that I'm saying or speaking to. That's not who I am as a person. It's a fantastic event. It's approximately 3 days. Miami and May is absolutely gorgeous. It's right on South Beach. She has multiple room types available. And from a couple's perspective, this is your best bang for your buck because you get something for everyone. You get the educational, you get the fun, pool parties, theme nights, DJs, dancing, food. I mean, you name it. It's really something for everyone and the conveniences as well. So sometimes when you go to these hotel takeovers, unfortunately, they're not in great areas
Not
sometimes.
usually,
You're
no.
in South Beach. So everything's accessible. So if you even wanted to extend your stay for a little bit and explore, that's a great opportunity for you to take.
I think you're spot on. I mean, South Beach itself is probably one of the most famous beaches in the world. I don't know
Rightfully
why,
so.
because I don't
I
particularly love South Beach, but
I dare you to
I
just
mean,
walk down South
the
Beach,
food, the
please.
shopping, the hot girls, the Lamborghinis. I mean, there's a lot of opulence in that area. But, as far as venues for an event go, I love South Beach. It's really cool.
Agreed.
It's a really great place to have it, but, it's the last year at the hotel that we're having it at because they got bought and they're converting the hotel into something else. But I do think that it's an amazing time. It's worth checking out if you
So
haven't
good.
had that chance.
If for no other reason, we're sponsoring the playroom.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I hate to pat myself in the back and ourselves in the back. I like I did it all by myself. But it's going to be amazing. We have a great foundation that we're going to build upon for this year and do our
Oh, the
best
playroom was
to.
dope as fuck
It
last
was
year.
so good.
It was
It
really
was
good.
so good.
I don't usually say, "Wow, we're
Yeah.
awesome," but we were awesome last year. It was
This
really
was
good.
yeah.
And, of course, we did it in partnership with Liberator last year, and it worked out so
I'm
well.
actually looking at the inventory across the back.
Yeah, this is one of the larger rooms in our house that we don't do much with, so it is literally like playroom storage is kind of what this room
Yeah.
is. Well, was. Now it's studio/playroom storage. But the cool part is all the foam in this room works really well for sound deadening.
Ooh,
So
2 for 1.
there you
More
go.
reason to buy Liberator, folks.
But Podcast-A-Palooza, if you don't know, it's Libertine Events or Podcast-A-Palooza. That's PALOZA.com. There are still rooms available. We do think it's a fantastic event. And this is your last opportunity to go to do a PCAP in South Beach.
Yep.
So she's not doing it again.
Do it. The FOMO is going to be real, I promise you.
Yeah. And there's no foam parties. It's not foam, just FOMO.
FOMO.
Faux show. No.
You got me. You got me to break character. Thank you, sir. There's
I,
an inside joke there,
I
and I can't even
literally
begin
did
to
it
tell you.
just to get you to do that.
Thank you. Thank you. I digress. Let's talk about Revive.
Oh, Revive parties. That was fun.
So we have a lot of respect for these guys that throw these parties. They do such a great job. They've been hosting and throwing parties for quite some time. So if you're in Florida, primarily Southwest and Western Florida is, their primary venues, selection spaces. They have a few on that side of the state. They do an exceptional job. We went for St. Patrick's Day weekend, had a glow party, had a green party. It was absolutely amazing. Had the best time. Cannot wait to go see them again. Are we going in July or September?
July. So the next party that they're having is
At Paradise Lakes in Florida.
Ooh, I love Christmas.
yeah, it's their
No joke.
biggest party of the year. As I understand, Brian, who's one half of Brian and Bridget, who are the organizers of the event, just goes absolutely bonkers, ape shit crazy for this event. Just absolutely loves it. His wife said that he's just a Christmas freak.
We need to talk about this. I did not know that.
Yeah,
Did you
turns-
tell them I have an entire storage unit?
No,
just
I
for my
really did
Christmas?
not need you to have more in common with those people than you already do.
I cannot wait.
Yeah.
This is going to be fabulous.
So Christmas in July, that is reviveparties.com. That's REVIVE parties.com. Those guys are awesome. And, I think one of my favorite things about them is they're absolutely all inclusive, all ages, all sizes, all types. There's no gatekeeping with those guys. They just
No,
don't.
they're very inclusive, and it is all walks of life, and I love that. I love the diversity and the crowd that they bring, and I love their passion, and it speaks through because there's a lot of people that have attended their events for quite some time. And I don't want to say they have a following because that sounds a little cultish, but they do have a lot of respect,
Yeah.
and that's not easy to get. It's very much earned on their part. So if you're interested, what is their website?
Reviveparties.com.
Thank you.
REVIVEPARTIES.
Yeah, feel free to check them out. If you have questions, you can always message us and we can get you in contact with them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that brings us to Casual Swinger Week.
Whoosah. So all we have been doing the last 7 days, pretty much nonstop, is packing, organizing, making lists, freaking out a little bit, but in a good way.
A lot of freaking
And
out.
we're leaving in a matter of days. That we will be on property for our second annual Casual Swinger Week at Hedonism 2 in Jamaica.
Just crazy.
And I'm over the moon excited about it.
Yeah. This particular trip for us, I mean, it's a labor of love. It always has been. We have put, I don't know, probably more into it than anybody ever dreamt we would. But it's something that, for a long time, I think we talked about maybe not doing it and just hosting for other people. And, this is so
We do
good.
love doing that too, and we still do that.
Yeah. Well, I never wanted anybody to think that we were being capitalists about it. I didn't want anybody to think that we were trying to monetize our relationships or our friendships or our sponsors from Casual Toys, right? Because a lot of the ways that we fill our trip box is with stuff from our partners.
Ooh, speaking of our partners.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
we
we
have
owe
got
them
some amazing sponsors and partners for this trip, starting with Vito Toys. Vito Toys provided us with some really nice vibrators, vibrating cock rings, one for every box.
Literally, we were able to give everyone who signed up for the trip and will be a guest with us gets a toy of one iteration or the other. Absolutely fantastic toy quality. So shout out to Vito Toys. They're exceptional.
Yeah, very good.
Very well done. And I love that they were diversity. A lot of times you talk about toys and it's usually female driven in that department sometimes. And
Yeah.
I don't mind that. I'm a little selfish. I get it. But I love that they were inclusive with guys. So, and also shout out to Casual Toys. No, I'm just kidding. Call ourselves out.
Well, we did. I mean, we did sponsor it.
Actually, we took a leap. We actually had our own toy manufactured and branded this year that we'll be selling on our website. So to celebrate that momentous occasion for us and the toy store, we actually included it in the toy box. So it's a neat little rose that I'm very excited about.
It is. Yeah. So we're going to be selling that toy in the store. It's the ROH exclamation point SE because RO or OH exclamation points in all of the ways we name our toys. And I have a buttload of them. So because I was able to bring them in at a price that's going to be way cheaper than anybody else sells them for out there, right? So hopefully we'll be able to give people a cool toy, medical grade silicone, high quality at a very low price, which is pretty exciting.
Everyone got pasties.
Oh yeah, from Neva Nude.
Yep. And they also got pasties from
we got, was it
NS
Novelties did it? Yep.
Yeah.
And we also had our Casual Babe pasties that we have in there. Those were courtesy of us at Casual Toys. We also have a lubricant in there from Uberlube.
Yep.
Coochie Shave Cream, Wicked Sensual Care.
Oh, yeah.
Just really, just good.
Toy cleaner from Wicked. It was great. One of my favorite toy boxes.
I'm very pleased with it.
Well, trip boxes technically, but it was filled with toys this time. So.
Well, that and the casual bag and the casual cups and the sunglasses. And the wristbands and the stickers.
I'm really excited.
Yeah.
We do have an entire bag of dicks that we're taking with us that always makes me laugh. I was able to put 7 rubber dicks in each suitcase without having it go over. And just for a fun fact, it is for a game, not what you think it is. Totally worth it. Wish you could be there to see how that's going to go down because it's going to be a riot. We love having summer camp for perverts.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to it, but hey, whatever. Anyhow, I think Casual Swinger Week for us, it's obviously about more than the trip box. It's about more than really any one thing.
Yeah. Well, I love this year's mantra or ethos: mind, the body, the spirit, the soul.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. And that's a throwback to the original ethos of hedonism too, as a resort. And those signs still exist in one place in the resort. They used to be everywhere. I think we have a shirt from like way back in the day that had that mantra on it.
Yeah. It's way too big for me now.
We've architected the week to speak to each of those functions. So hopefully it resonates with everyone that's joining us. And I can't wait to tell you about it after we get back.
It's going to be very cool. So we're looking forward to talking about that. And obviously the resort's sold out.
It's completely sold out.
Yeah. So we managed to sell out Hedo, guys. I did not think that was something we were going to be able to do, but here we are. Yeah. And that's not easy to do. And even when the place catches on fire, it's still not easy to do. But so anyway, we will kind of bounce out of here and come back here in a few minutes and we will catch up on the unicorn. What is it? The unicorn swap. Yeah, I lost my place for a second, so I had to come back.
Oh, good. You got that.
Yeah, you just got to give me a second. That's all it takes. All right, we'll be back in a quick second. And we'll get back. You've been listening to Casual Swinger. All right, guys, little brief technical difficulty there while we tried to sort out a issue with the camera, but I think we got it. We'll see. I
I
don't
love
know.
how you say we. I sat here and watched.
You watched me yell at the camera and go, "You piece of shit, you're not working the way you're
I'm
supposed
here
to."
for oral support.
I do love your oral support. Your oral support is the stuff of legends.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, you should see her TripAdvisor reviews, folks. Holy shit.
Wow.
What?
What about Yelp?
I'm sorry. Your Yelp reviews are good too.
Anyway.
You know what's funny though? It's actually one of the comments that I make, and this kind of ties into what we're going to talk about. So today we're going to talk about the unicorn swap.
Mhm.
We're going to talk about what it means for effectively, one person in the couple to solo play with another couple. That's effectively the unicorn swap, and then
Yeah.
trade back the other way. But
Yeah. Reciprocity is key.
a
Yeah.
little bit. But when I think about it, it kind of makes me think about your SDC profile. And
Oh, wow. Okay. So, for those who don't know, that is a dating site for people in the lifestyle. And we actually have two profiles on there. We have a
Mhm.
couple's profile, and then I have my own profile on
Actually,
there.
technically, we have three of them: one for the podcast, one for us, and one for you.
Okay. But let's keep it simple. So, we have a couple's profile and a single profile, right? And on my single profile, it says no couples because that's effectively, can I say the term? The term that's commonly used in this space is called hot wifing. It's when the female half of a couple goes out and plays separately from her significant other
Yeah.
on a solo basis. So we have that profile, and then we have our couple's profile that says no single males. And what usually happens with those?
Every single time.
Okay, every single time, couples message my single profile and single guys message our couple's profile.
Every time.
And it's maddening, and it doesn't matter if we're passive aggressive or just generally aggressive with, like, bold, italicized, asterisks, like, we could call the ball like, and that could be our entire profile. I believe strongly it'd still stay the same.
I thought that one of the craziest things, so I built your solo profile for you. I mean,
Effectively,
yeah, I mean, I'm the IT guy
because I was
around
like,
here.
I dance good."
Whatever. No, I'm the one that kind of writes stuff.
You are the master of yeah,
And so I wrote your profile, ran it by you, gave me some edits, I
yeah,
fixed it, et cetera, et cetera. And what happened is almost immediately there was this flood of couples, and it was
yeah.
all couples. And I went back in and I made your tagline. I made, because in SDC you have this headline effectively that is kind of your overarching, this is who I am. So for
It's
example,
your cover letter,
well, yeah. So for
effectively.
casual
Yeah.
swinger, ours says totally awesome couple seeking equally awesome couple for debauchery and laughs. That's our headline. For you, your
Well put.
headline is no couples, please. I am not a unicorn star. I am not a unicorn.
Yeah.
And all of your responses are from couples.
And it's usually, we are such a match.
Oh yeah, we love your profile.
We love your profile. And I'm like, "I think you failed English."
The reality is, and this is the thing that I've figured out. And by the way, if anybody out there gets mad
Well,
because
don't
I'm
get
shitting on dudes, well,
yeah,
we suck. Okay.
yeah.
We look at a picture of a hot girl and immediately we start thinking about our own dicks. And then boom, that's what happens. We're all over it. It's send this message. And then the funny
So you
part
don't
is,
have enough blood in your brain in
no,
order to have reading comprehension
no.
skills.
Robin Williams said it best.
Got
God
it.
gave us two heads and only enough blood to run one at a time.
Alright.
And that's exactly what happened. We get messages immediately, and it's the guy sitting there at 3 o'clock in the morning with his dick in one hand and his keyboard in the other. And he's okay. Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. We love your profile and we're such a match. No, we're fucking not. And the funny part is on Casual Swinger, when we get messages, the top and the bottom says, hey guys, while, we love single guys, we appreciate you guys. No drama, no issues. Not looking for single guys. We'll reach out to you if we're interested. Hey, love your profile. We'd be a great match. Let's hang out. So that tells me the same guys that are in couples are the same as the single guys. And the problem is
Not the women.
us. We're the issue. It's not the women. Mallory's right. It's us.
Go team vagina.
Reading comprehension is impossible when you're thinking about sex.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's what it is.
So, effectively, the reason you're bringing this up, and call me on my stuff here if I'm not following you correctly, that the commonality of the goals, though, and these interactions is these couples are still whether they're open to other couples or not, a primary objective of being in the lifestyle is finding that third single female to play with. And for most, or at least some, that maybe is how like they ushered in to the lifestyle or had first fantasies to some degree, whether that was the guy or the girl. I think that's kind of how these situations start. Can we add a girl to the bedroom? Because a girl's not threatening from a male perspective. It's hot from a worship my dingus. Like,
You stealing my terms now over there? Is that what you're doing? You're
I
stealing my
heard you
terms?
say it early today and it made me laugh. So I just wanted to use
You
it
just
at
wanted to
least
say
once.
dingus in a
I did.
sentence.
I
Okay.
did.
I always talk
Sue
about
me.
my
It's my show
dingus.
too.
Well, yeah, my dingus.
But
You're right.
right. Okay.
You're
So
right. It's the guy. It's the guy over there thinking about
yeah.
his tweeter.
Well,
And
sometimes it's a girl. For example, I'm bisexual.
yeah,
So when the opportunity to have that discussion came by, it wasn't just about you. It was about me and not just having permission to play with another girl, but having permission to play with a girl and a guy. For someone who occupies the space that I'm in, that's a win.
no, but
That's a
I want to point out that for most lifestyle couples, it usually is a guy going, I would really love to have another girl in the bedroom. And it's this whittling down process because most of the time they're trying to talk their wife in. How would it be cool? Wouldn't it be fun? Have you always liked other
I
girls?
think
Aren't
that's
they
even
pretty?
I think that would be pre-lifestyle. I mean, it probably does happen in lifestyle too.
Our
If you're
first lifestyle experience, you brought your best friend out on a date with me and a buddy of mine and fucked her in the backseat of his car.
I'm not talking about that tonight.
I'm just saying that
I used to have a nose ring. That's a story for another
that
day.
isn't, and yeah, you should ask
It is
Mallory where
no
that
more.
nose ring is because no one knows.
Yeah. It's in an X-ray somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere. But my point with bringing that up is it was clear to me out of the gate that you were into girls. I
Yeah.
mean, you were tongue
Actually,
deep
you
as far as I
gave
could tell.
yeah, well, you gave me permission to. So in the previous relationship I was in, it was very frowned upon, discriminated, like not okay. So when I had an opportunity to be very honest about who I was from the get-go, then I just decided, why not? What do I have to lose if he doesn't like me for who I am? And you were cool with it.
Of course.
And in fact, you made me feel cool.
It was awesome.
Like you were like, that's awesome, which was very different than the reaction I got before.
Oh, no, that was really cool.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I
But
mean,
and then you didn't use me as a toy because that was the other
no.
thing. Like I'm like, this is not like a you thing. This is a me thing. Like I don't do this for you.
Well,
This
it
is
was
just who I
you
am.
looked to me like you were enjoying yourself, and it was not up to me to inject myself into
I'm
that
pretty sure
situation.
that's the first time I performed with a girl in front of somebody else.
Really?
I think so. I
Wow.
really have to go back in the catalog and draw that out, but I think so.
Well, I think you were a little taken aback in that moment, at least, that I did not leap into the situation. I think it was an
And insert
expectation.
yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and her and I had talked about it that it was probably okay if that were to happen and it didn't. But like we were
That
fine. Like we made it work.
I was really not happy about this. So my asshole friend whose car we were in, by the way, and I love him to pieces. He's still one of my
He's
best friends,
amazing.
which is why I can call him an asshole. But he didn't leave because he thought something was going to go down with the four of us. So he wouldn't leave. And you guys were waiting around for me until it got so late that it didn't happen. And
Yeah.
when I realized what had happened and that I'd been cockblocked by asshole friend, I really wanted him to drown in his own saliva. I was
Oh
not
my God.
happy.
It was great. Picture this, Sicily. Like it's one of those moments.
1923.
Well, it was so long ago that you guys were using your Blackberries as
That's true.
flashlights.
It was a long time ago. Practically was Sicily, 1920.
Yeah. So good times.
That happened. But, and again,
Where we're
circling back
where-
from this rabbit hole that we've found ourselves down here, I think most couples don't have an experience like that opens a door that says, we are sex positive.
Mhm.
We are okay with this type of behavior.
Mhm.
She is into girls. And now we can start opening doors because it's clear that boundaries are somewhat larger or maybe more distanced than they would be for your average couple.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the complexities too. Like when you talk about dating in the lifestyle, because it's effectively what it is to some degree, even if it's more transactional or maybe it's more demisexual or sapiosexual, whatever you classify yourself. There is an element of a dating or vetting that comes along with it. And it's hard to find a single female that both of you are into
That's
because that is key.
nearly
That
impossible.
is key.
Actually, I want to point something else out about single females. And another reason why finding a single female to join you as a couple is difficult. You guys ready? This is not going to make me popular. Single women are fucking crazy. They're nuts. There's a reason why they're single.
This is where we go to a break.
I'm
No.
s
Um,
Am I wrong? In our experience.
I think as a general blanket statement, not fair per se,
Well, no, but
but
and cheap funny too.
I would also say that we will get some stories, like war stories from couples that have had experiences we have
Oh, well, I
had
think we should
experience
go ahead and
where
share it. I think we should
it
talk about
went
that
where it goes left. So, with unicorn swapping, one of the benefits that we find is that there's an established comfort level
big time.
because of that tie-in to another marriage. They have a foundation, they have a center.
Someone else is responsible for their
Yeah,
bullshit.
yeah, and there's it's also in a way, and this it's gonna sound crazy in a way, it's safe because they're not a threat to your relationship. It's a third, and odd numbers are always hard in a social situation. I've actually talked about this probably 3 times this week. With human beings, anytime there's an odd number of people, we're very directional. Talking to more than one person is very challenging and making them feel included. So when you have an odd number, more often than not, there's one person at some point that's going to feel left out or a little bit of a wallflower, which for an introvert might be okay for a little bit, and then it gets weird. So when you have an odd number, it's really challenging to find a rhythm or function where everyone's vibing and working together and everyone's getting equal share in time and feeling comfortable. And then you add sex to the equation, which complicates it, raises the bar, and it can be hard. Threesomes aren't as fucking easy and kinky as people want to believe they are in some
And they're a
cases.
lot of work for the guy, okay? Just saying that,
Oh, do not play the sympathy card. I
oh,
don't
no,
even.
that no,
No, no,
we
no,
are
no, no,
totally
no,
going for
no.
sympathy for the men here and all the effort we have to put in to please you beautiful women,
We do just fine.
and I didn't mind a bit, just so you know. So,
Anyway,
let's flash back
yes.
to Sicily 1924, just after the original experience. We and this is before we ever thought about a unicorn swap or anything else really. We were at Taboo in Baltimore, which is a great club. Love that club.
It's actually my favorite
Yeah,
one. Yeah.
Vicky does a great job. If you have an opportunity to go in Taboo in Baltimore, fucking go. They're awesome people.
It's ran so well. It's very clean. It's fun. It's a super positive
Yeah.
environment. Yeah.
Vicky's a sweetheart.
Yeah.
So, and she works her ass off. So, can't say enough nice things about her or her club. It's awesome. Check it out. Really cool place. So, they did this thing. It was a Friday night. It was called Running of the Unicorns. Now, that makes it sound like there are a herd of unicorns that are being
Like
paraded through this building.
literally the way just in the nomenclature, it makes it sound like there's like they're corralled somewhere in the corner of this club. And then you get there and then like someone's gonna blow a whistle and all these hot single girls are gonna come
Oh,
running out of the middle of the night. Like it does sound exciting.
well, it's like somebody knew the secret. And
Yeah.
they know where they keep them.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to go and they're going to open the gates and the flood of the unicorns is going to come in. Well,
Yeah.
that is not what happened. What happened, as I'm sure you can probably guess, is we got there and there were 90 couples. And I think there were 3 single girls, one of which definitely had our attention. She was very cute.
There's great energy about her. She's
Yeah.
dancing.
And she
She's
was
super
talking to this other couple. This
social.
other couple
Yeah.
was all over her. So Mallory did something that is fairly unusual for her.
Completely unusual. Had not happened before or since.
No, that's why I said it was fairly unusual.
Yeah.
I suppose you could say very unusual. Fine.
I felt bold, but also rude,
Well,
apparently.
and do you know what? Karma was almost instant that night.
And this is why I am determined to be a good person at almost any cost. Because my karma is instantaneous. Every time I walk that gray line, it makes sure to let me know that I fucked up.
I'm inclined to agree with her,
So
folks.
I wanted to be the hero. I
You wanted
wanted
to bring a
to
unicorn.
I wanted to catch a unicorn and have a fun night with my husband and this cute girl.
Yeah.
And I felt emboldened. So effectively, what happened was I saunter over there after I give myself a nice pep talk in the bathroom, like in the mirror, because
Yeah.
that's the type of person I am. And I saunter over and I tap her on the shoulder, spinning around. And I was like, I've just been dying to dance with you all night. Can you just give me one dance or something to that effect? And she was so flanders. She hands the drink to the guy that she was talking to when we go out on the dance floor. And
Sold.
walking up those steps, I could hear the Rocky theme in the back of my mind. I'd already determined success was about. It was at our cut,
Okay.
at our fingertips. And I danced with her for maybe 2 songs.
Yeah.
Asked her if she needed a drink. grabbed her hand, brought her over, introduced her to you. We went and got a drink, had a great conversation. I effectively fucking stole this girl.
Oh, no, she robbed this other couple,
Uh,
walked up, took her away, and did not bring her back.
so
It
there's
was one of
part
the funniest things I've ever seen happen in a club because that
so
other
rude.
couple, so sweet. By the way, this is way before Casual Swinger, guys. This is
Long before.
probably 12 years before Casual Swinger was a thing. And it was so freaking funny because they literally look like the Hamburglar had stolen their
I
hamburgers. I
kicked
mean, it
their
was
puppy. I told them their baby was like, I know I hurt their feelings. And that's wrong. Do not do that, kids. That is bad. That is rude. You have social graces. But for a
funny as fuck, though.
small moment, I felt like the hero. And it was on, like, we had a great vibe.
Oh,
I
yeah,
could not have at that point in time, I could not have addressed that situation better
no.
in my mind. Like, this was just working out so freaking well. So well, we got the tab, left, and
Oh,
she was coming to our hotel room.
and I mean, we're talking like 30 minutes later, we're on our way to the hotel with this
Uh,
girl. I mean, it was not that long. And
yeah,
the only
I
reason
think
I
30 minutes
know,
is short selling it because I feel like it was longer than that.
well, I
Because we're
know
not usually transactional people. This was an exception to the rule.
very much so. But I know what happened is that when we got to the room, and I know it was not that late because we almost never left Taboo before midnight, and it was only like
I was
11:45
gonna
when we
say,
got to
I
the
know
room.
we walked in before midnight.
We did. And now again, you guys, I just told you guys this was 12 years ago, and if you listen to Casual Swinger, you know I have a shitty memory. So this is clearly an impactful story that I remember details like what time we walked into the room. So we get this girl back, and the first thing she pretty much says is, "Can you put on some music?" And we're still learning, right? So I was like, "Yeah, we got music. We'll put some music on." And she goes, "No, very specifically, I want Britney Spears 3 on repeat."
Now we have carbon dated exactly when this happened.
Pretty much.
And it played on repeat pretty much all night to the point where I was unable to focus on the sexy part of the evening, and it had to stop. Also, a lot of things started happening. We had fun right out of the gate,
Oh, we
got right
threw
to it,
down, started having sex right
and
away.
yeah, and the first 45 minutes or so was great, and then it kinda took a turn,
Yeah,
and
her phone started
her
ringing.
started and then she started getting a little like, "Oh, what's going on?" And
Her story kept changing too.
my spidey senses went off. I tried to have a lot of empathy and, you know, with women because I'm very, concerned about their overall well-being and comfort level. I'd want the same respect,
Mhm.
and something was off. And do we fast forward to the end so we can get into, like, the dynamics of the unicorn swapping?
Yeah, a little. I mean,
Okay.
we can fast forward a little bit. So let's just say that the crazy was piling up.
Yeah. And to the point we both, without saying a word, knew that something was up, and we're like, "Okay, we're getting dressed." Like, this is definitely coming to a close because we don't know what's happening. Something's happening.
Mm. It was her husband calling, by the way, who she told us she was single and she
Well,
wasn't married. I mean, she said it was her roommate, said it was a friend. I
it
mean, the story
started
kept
as our
changing.
babysitter.
Babysitter,
Moms are fine.
roommate,
Moms are hot.
friend.
Yeah, roommate, a
Yeah.
friend, neighbor. Finally, told us it was her husband that was looking for her, and I was like, "You have to go
You
home.
gotta go home.
I implore you to. I will get you an Uber,
Yeah.
whatever is
It
necessary."
was a cab back then.
Yeah.
Uber
Oh, yeah, that's
Uber was a
right.
word back
Ooh,
then, not a ride sharing app.
wow, we're old. Anyway.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I know, since we're dating ourselves. But here's a couple of fun things that happen. So first of all, we get her out of there like, "Well, you know what? It was fun. We won't do
Lessons
that again.
learned.
Lesson learned."
Yeah, we had some pillow talk, had a little sex,
Yeah.
lessons learned,
Went to
recapped,
bed at,
agreed,
like,
went to bed.
daylight. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it
was
was
great.
like 3:30, four
It's great.
o'clock.
We thought we had probably succeeded and went to bed with a win
Yeah, wasn't bad.
till 2 days
Learned to
later.
and then we almost died.
It was
I'm
the
pretty sure
sickest I've ever been,
I
and
we
I've had
we
COVID 5 times.
we decided we probably had SARS. Like, it was intense. It's second sickest I've ever been in my life,
That was awful.
and not hospitalized. Like,
Yeah.
we probably should have been hospitalized, and we were sick for, like, 2.5 weeks afterwards. And I looked at you, I was like, "Never again will I ever be that brave or bold or rude, because karma told me you messed up."
Yeah. Would have been so much easier for us to have just met a couple, and if we really wanted to have a three-way, just work it out.
The downside to that is introducing the potential dynamic and being the first person to do so. I will say that's a ballsy move because you don't know how anyone's gonna react, and you have to be confident or have the relationship with the people to know that even if it's brought up and declined, that you're still gonna be friends, right? I think that's my fear,
Yeah.
if I were to introduce a new dynamic in that way. And we're looking if we have a couple that's very open to several iterations, including unicorn swapping.
Mhm.
So,
Well, but we earned that, and we've been friends with them for years, so.
well, and I think that's the other piece of the puzzle. I think that kind of level of trust is very much so earned.
Mhm,
Because for me as the spouse, like, having another married woman in the situation, knowing she's in a loving, healthy lifestyle relationship with her husband, like, that just is another layer of comfort and security for me, because there's no threat there, and also that she's bisexual, or at least very, curious and explorative in that
mhm.
department. It's a win.
Yeah. Well, so, we talk about this as a way to get from A to B.
Did I just make up explorative? Sorry to interrupt.
Exploratory, probably, but
Thanks.
it's okay.
There it is. That's the one.
I know better than to correct you, so I just let it go. I'm like, "It's fine."
I just hit the table, I apologize, but I was like,
No,
"That's not right."
it's okay.
Yeah,
You still have a better vocabulary than 93% of the population. You're good.
I think your math is off, but yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you.
No,
Thank you.
it's okay, mama. Trust me, no one is
I
giving you a
love
hard
it.
time for flubbing a word
I
every once in a
love it
while.
when you call me mama.
But it's we talk about things like, and we talk about the lifestyle, we talk about play styles, we talk about group play, we talk about things like separate play, separate dating, all these different things. And I think this particular aspect gets left on the table. People don't talk about it that much, maybe because there's an element of offensiveness to it. Like, hey, it's like, because I mean, and again, it's not a secret for a lot of you guys. Some of you that have known us for a long time know I was a 350-pound guy at one. And I have been in lifestyle situations where couples came up and said, "Hey, we really like your wife. Can we play with her without you?" That has happened. They've come up to my face and said that. And you can look at Mallory's face on camera right now, and you can see exactly what she thinks of that.
I'm
She
just if it were me, which it never maybe once, and I'm pretty sure my face said everything they needed to know because it was the most offensive thing.
I guess I wasn't that offended by it because I knew who I was. I know who I am still. I mean, I'm a polarizing
Oh,
dude.
no,
It doesn't
no,
hurt my
you,
feelings.
well undervalued yourself, but we can argue that point another way, another time.
Certainly. But my point, though, is at that point, that was highly offensive because the concept is you're not good enough for us, but she is. So why don't you fuck off and we're going to take her off and have a good time?
Yeah.
And that's not a unicorn swap.
No,
That's
that's
not what we're
selfish as
talking about.
fuck, and that's not no, it's definitely not what we're talking about. In this specific situation, and correct me if I'm wrong, it came up actually very naturally, and I felt comfortable being the one to float the idea in because I felt coming from me, what look was much better because then everyone knew that this wasn't something that was being forced or put on, like, you weren't running the narrative, which unfortunately sometimes guys in the lifestyle do. They think with their dicks, and they're very confident in their dicks, except when they're left alone with their dick, right? So, guy is approached about his wife.
My dick and I often talk about our insecurities together when we're alone.
Stop it. But I felt like that was appropriate. That felt, very neutral, and I started with her.
Yeah.
I just said, "Hey, we've been thinking about this. I'm a fan of this idea. I'm a fan of you being incorporated into this idea. I'm really curious where you would possibly stand on that, and if it's something that you think you'd be into, would you want to talk to your husband about it, and what does that look like for you guys?" And this could be a group conversation. Like, obviously, you guys talk amongst yourselves. Feel free to come back, even if it's a no. Like, we're always open for discussion. And
Sure.
everybody who wanted to talk to you, talk to me, talk to each other as a group, whatever. You got to keep the lines of communication.
So there's a pro tip in there in what you just said. If you want to approach another couple about a unicorn swap, meaning we would like to have your female half join us in our bedroom,
Mhm.
and we would like to have our female half join you in your bedroom. A great way to start that conversation is to offer to go first, right? For a pro tip, if you want it to not be offensive, then you have to offer more than you're asking for. And this goes for almost any negotiation in the universe, whether we're talking about business or personal finance or anything, there's always an equal sign in the middle of a negotiation. Ideally, if everybody is on opposite sides of an equal sign, they feel like a winner. Like they don't feel like they're being slighted or being taken advantage of. And a great way to do that is to enter that negotiation with something in your hands, with a gift. And that gift is that we are totally happy with going first. Now, what is the danger of going first? Because the pro tip, go first, you're more likely to say yes. But the danger is you never get around to getting yours because maybe you do that thing and she goes over and they have a great
Yeah,
time.
that's always a
And then
possibility.
scheduling gets in the way. Right?
Well, and, yes. I mean, I had only talked about the conversation
Mhm.
up front,
Sure.
right? But both parties have to be comfortable with it. Like, the girls have to be comfortable with leaving their partner behind because for some people that is an issue, separate play, right? Alone.
Sure.
And the male partner has to be okay with being left to their own devices, which can be a very isolating feeling. And no
There's some
one
people that cannot self-soothe. There's
knows, and
yeah.
I struggle with it sometimes. I struggle with it and like normal shit. So I totally understand where that comes into play, but I do believe that women and men are architected a little differently in that emotional space. That for a guy, maybe it can be more panic inducing from an alpha male perspective. Like, tell me how a guy thinks in that situation, especially because he's getting all the benefits. He's got two women. He's getting this tandem. He loves having threesomes. It's all about him and his penis. But then when the exchange happens, what's that like, what could they potentially feel? Like, what's their delta?
Well, it's
Different.
actually potentially harder than that. So, if you've never been in a sexual situation with more than one person before, the inherent anxiety can result in erectile issues. So, when we talk about
Oh, I
unicorn
was talking about the
swapping,
solo guy,
I
but
know,
yes.
but hang on, they're all
Yeah.
kind of part and parcel to the same thing.
Okay. Sorry.
Because when we talk about, okay, I finally got these two hot chicks, and my dick is center stage, and you ready, buddy? Okay, let's go. And he's staring at your ankles. It's it happens. It happens to the best of us. It happens to the worst of us. You never know. Some days you're the windshield, some days you're the bug. And these things do happen. It sucks.
Okay.
It's a part of being a guy.
Okay.
Now, you have to understand that as part of a unicorn swap, that can happen to you. And that doesn't mean that the other side doesn't get their swing at the plate.
Okay.
Just because you couldn't get it up doesn't mean that it doesn't count, right? So that's a little difficult. Now, once if you're the guy on the other side and now they've all gone, so another way, and so pro tip number 2 for unicorn swapping, number 2 is keep your dates as close together as possible so life doesn't get in the way. So what I'm talking about is, book one on a Friday night, the other one on a Saturday or a Sunday night. So keep them close together
Or within a week
or
or
keep them close
whatever
enough.
yeah, within reason.
Yeah.
But
That also helps
so
with the
my
self-soothing
s
part though, because
I
it
was gonna
just
say
happened.
I was gonna say, I think and I'm not a guy, but just thinking
Thank
about the
God,
archit
because I've been in your crotch a lot,
It's true.
and you've got the
You
littlest
missed the
penis
mark.
I've ever seen.
What about the guy that has to go first or the guy that is left behind after, the guy that has to self-soothe? Don't you think they have a different worry, anxiety being male than being female? Like, what is that like being the one left at home?
I think
Because it's all good and gravy when they're all getting theirs, but when they're the one left behind
it's different. It's different depending on which side of you are. So if you're the guy that goes first
uh-huh.
and maybe has performance anxiety issues or has performance issues, then you're worried about the other guy crushing it and knocking it out of the park with
That's
both
not
of
what I
them.
asked. I asked just about being the guy that self-soothes. Like, do you think? Because I'm not a dude, just a little girl over here
I
that doesn't
love
know
it.
what she's doing.
Big
I
boobies
just
too.
totally hit my chin on the microphone. I was like, oof. I mean, self-soothing as a guy,
Mhm.
being left out. What comes into their what could
I
potentially
was
come into their
trying to
mind?
tell you, and you told me it's not the question
I'm
you asked.
sorry.
But I'm telling you, guys' issues with self-soothing
Yeah,
are, especially in this case, are almost entirely related to performance anxieties
yeah.
and how we are viewed by the women that we
Even
want so desperately to be approved by.
do you think that could still happen even if he had a successful engagement the first
Yeah,
time? I
maybe
mean,
he's better. And then that starts to go into things about self-confidence.
yeah.
It starts to go, maybe she doesn't want me. Maybe something bad's going to happen. Maybe she's going to come home and won't want me anymore. Because a lot of times and this is, I mean, I already said one thing that's gonna make me unpopular, that single girls are crazy, but if you've had a few of them in the lifestyle, you know you agree with me, so we're cool. But the fact of the matter is, most guys in early lifestyle couples don't want their wife to go out and sleep with someone else. They just want their cake and to eat it too. They just want to hook up with 2 hot girls, and that's the end of it. This is our play style. And a lot of these girls are convinced that's exactly what they want too. They don't want another guy, but they'd love to bring another girl home for their guy. And these are the same women that are hitting people up and messaging people and saying, it's his birthday and I'm going to surprise him for his birthday with a hot girl. And then,
We
and,
have gotten that message,
and they
which
mess.
I always find that from a social perspective very strange. And we've been in this space a long time. And I appreciate they wanna do something really fucking awesome for their person, and they love them, and they're like, "This is such a great idea," and part of me is like, "Are you sure, though? Have you really thought about this?
Ow.
Because you're gonna show up with an extra girl. He's not gonna have maybe he won't have his dick pills, like, who fucking knows how that's gonna shake out?" I would like, Fantasyland, sure, that sounds great. I would never surprise you with another girl. It's like, think about the intense, like, anxiety that could cause someone.
Oh, especially like, oh my God, I rubbed one out like 2 hours ago. Why didn't you tell me?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
100%.
No,
Mhm.
I could totally see that.
Yeah.
I don't, and I God, I feel like people are gonna be so mad at me for some of the stuff that
I'm
I've
gonna find
dropped
it
out.
hilarious. I cannot wait.
Yeah, it's, but at the same time, I think if you've been around the lifestyle spaces long enough, you know that some of these things can happen. And performance anxieties come in, jealousy and envy come in.
Yeah,
Not being
this
able to
is
understand
one
the difference between jealousy and envy
I was
comes in.
just gonna say the envy part I could see being a big factor here because FOMO is a thing. I have FOMO. I've
Mhm.
probably experienced way more envy than jealousy in my lifetime. And I hate that emotion, but not acknowledging it means you're not dealing with it to some degree. Like, and how I cope with that is I ask questions. Like, I just want to know, tell me what happened and how did that happen? And did you like it? And "Ooh, would you do that to me?" And it makes me feel, like, incorporated or part of the process, and that's just a me thing, but
Yeah, and you've gone out and played separately without
yes.
me,
Mhm,
and I have had good times where I've
mhm.
had almost no anxiety. And I've had really bad times where I've had extraordinary anxiety and stomach turning upside down, sweats, panic, not I'm just freaking out. And I could not tell you the difference.
How
And that means that self-soothing is always going to, or at least for me, it's always going to be different.
yeah,
And even if you left to go play with another couple, which you have, I actually struggled that time too. So, I remember that particular last the time I'm thinking of anyway, when you were in another state playing with another couple and I was elsewhere.
yeah. That was so many moons ago.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so that was a little bit unnerving for me for different reasons.
it was
But
it
the way I dealt with it,
yeah,
the way that I personally decided to deal with it was to just busy myself and trust that you were gonna get back to me. You were gonna message
yeah.
me when you were done and tell me you're okay and that you had a good time and that you couldn't wait to get home to see me and that you had a hot story for me. But something else that we have done that, and this is pro tip number
Well,
3.
can I add to that before you move on to the pro tip number
Sure.
3? Something that I experienced that part and we learned because it's the first time I went and played by myself.
Mhm.
Is that being that far from you afterwards was not my favorite.
No?
Like, I needed to connect with you sooner than I was afforded, and so I had to self-soothe as well on the other side of that equation.
So you felt wrong. You felt like you did
Well,
something
no,
wrong
I
because
didn't
you were
feel
so far
wrong, I
away?
just felt like there was this really big delta before we could reconnect, and that caused me, um, some consternation. Like, I just desperately wanted to reconnect with you, wanted to just remind myself that it was okay and I had permission to, and
Yeah.
just reassurance, but also that I had a good time and I just was so desperate to share it with you, like, immediately in an intimate way.
Hmm. Well,
So,
and
I
so
apologize for interrupting
no,
it.
that's okay. But it does bring me to pro tip number 3, something that we do that provides a little, and it works for us. This is not gonna work for everybody,
Yeah,
just so
no,
you
we're
know.
not experts. We're when we fuck shit up or
We find something that works, we
find
tell
a
you about
lucky
it.
penny, we just yeah,
Yeah,
tell your
this we
experience.
don't gatekeep. So, pro tip number 3, since Mallory was so insistent that she get the rest of that.
Sorry.
You were right, it was good. It was a good time to pause. I was just playing with you. but I did remember when I was scared I was gonna forget it. Pro tip number 3, take a picture or something, send something sexy to your partner while you're in that play session to let them know you're okay and that you're thinking of them and that you're not as separate as they might feel like you are.
Yeah, I'd clear that first because maybe not everyone is keen
Well,
on that idea, but it
other
is
people
a
don't have to
great.
be in it
That's
necessarily.
true, that's true, but, like, connecting with your person, like, whether that's a selfie of your outfit for the night
Mhm,
or in bed afterwards or somewhere during the evening
mhm,
to make them feel connected,
exactly.
special,
That's what I'm saying.
incorporated. I mean, you can incorporate the sexier stuff too, and
Oh, you've done that too.
I implore people to have those conversations because sometimes not only does it level up the game while it's happening, it also creates something for posterity, and that can be
Spank
fun
bang.
too, and something to look back upon and, like, do it in real time or post. Like, there's a lot of little but a lot of potential there to just expand on the experience, but definitely requires a lot of communication with all parties.
Oh, very much so, but
So,
one of the fun things that I love that you do, and you've done this for a long time, and I can almost see you doing it even though I've never seen you do it, is hand your phone back to the guy when he's behind you and
this
say,
has not happened a lot of times. I can tell you exactly how many times it's happened.
"It's happened a few."
3.
Okay. I was gonna
Exactly
3
3.
might actually be the definition of a few,
Sometimes I feel like you sometimes I feel you exaggerate.
but did I this time? Thank you. I rest my case. The court of public opinion will do the rest. No. But I do think that it for me anyway, as the guy that is self-soothing at, at home or in another state or where the fuck ever I am, to know that you're okay, that you're safe, that you're happy, that you're enjoying yourself, and something good is happening to you and you're sharing it with
Nothing so safe like getting it from behind. Look, babe, condom.
I'm sorry, you wouldn't let somebody get behind you where you can't see them if you don't feel safe.
Oh, correct. Very much so.
So, I know you well enough to know
I
that
wouldn't be in the situation with him in the first place,
well,
but
yeah,
yes.
that's exactly right. You wouldn't be there. So, no, and that could be solo play with a guy. That could also be with a couple. And by the way, if it's a couple, you have a third party that could actually take some pretty cool pictures to send.
Oh, there's a lot of potential there.
A ton.
Oh,
Yeah, little videos. There's all kinds of fun stuff you can do. But my point is actually, and the reason it's a pro tip, and by the way, I don't have a list of these. I'm just thinking of them as this comes along. We wrote nothing for this episode for you guys because this
way to
is,
break the veil.
well, yeah. Well, no, it's just kind of, this is how we're
Yeah.
living right now,
Yeah.
right? This is kind
Mhm.
of our lives right now.
This is life in real time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, for us, these things work. And I know how hard self soothing is. I think that I'm a little more experienced at it than you are. And I've told you, when you said you didn't know if you could do it, I said, and if you couldn't, I wouldn't be offended in the least
Yeah.
because I know even I being, and for those of you that have not listened to the show before or don't know the definition of the word compersive, compersion is the concept of feeling pleasure because your partner is getting pleasure. And that pleasure could be a lot of different things, but primarily compersion is related to sexual gratification. So when your partner is happy or feeling gratified sexually, that brings you gratification and happiness, not necessarily sexual gratification, but happiness. And I think that those things, they're enhanced by better communication. And better communication encompasses a lot of things. It encompasses things like audio, video, talking beforehand, talking
Yeah.
afterward. I know that you have had a solo encounter with another couple, and the female half of that other couple reached out to me and talked to me while you were off playing
Yeah.
because it made her feel better.
Yeah.
And so we sat there and talked and shot the shit and just talked about pizza and dogs and
I
God
was
knows what
actually
else.
really cool. Like, I appreciated that you 2 had the opportunity and that connection to do that.
I don't feel like
Enjoy your
you had a
company.
different experience than I did though.
I don't know. Different.
Yeah, Mallory had a good
I
time.
had a great night.
But,
Anyway.
it's funny, in that case for us, we didn't architect a follow-up
Yeah.
or reciprocity necessarily because our reciprocity was
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, it's not necessarily off the table, but we're exploring the interchange of dynamics here because there's multiple iterations on the table based on the relationship we have with them and
Mhm.
them specifically, and there's an established comfort level. So I do think for the first time in our relationship that that is something that's on the table that we could have potentially complete reciprocity. across the board, and I'm very excited about it. Right now, it's starting with the unicorn swap,
Yeah. And
and
unicorn swap's
yeah.
fun. It's cool. So
Uh-huh. Oh, that's your commentary?
no, I don't I'm just saying that if it's not your
Y'all,
thing,
you
it's not
sh
your thing, it's okay.
yeah, that's okay, because I was gonna say, if you saw your face, there were mirrors all over that room.
Oh, it was a good time. I was
Eh,
enjoying myself.
thank
We're
you.
no, I was
Yeah,
not
you're
saying I was not having a good time. That's
yeah,
definitely not what I'm saying. So here's a question for you, and maybe you can help somebody out here who may be listening or watching right
okay.
now. What if it doesn't what if you bring it up and it's not well received? Should you be upset? Should you feel bad about it? Should you run the other
Well, I
way?
think I think you have to define well received. A decline doesn't necessarily mean it wasn't well received, it just wasn't accepted, and that has to be okay.
Mhm.
And I think in the best relationships, platonic, non-monogamous, otherwise, I don't care. I think that is a key function of a very close relationship with someone is that there's an understanding that even if we disagree, we don't see eye to eye, or it's a decline, or even rejection, right?
Mhm.
That's fine. That's still okay. That doesn't change the dynamic or the established relationship. But if it feels challenged or threatened by that conversation, taking a step back and reevaluating and letting additional communication happen is imperative at that point. It's probably still a bit of a risk at the end of the day. I felt comfortable having the conversation with, these guys because of how open they are in the communication department. And they're pretty high level from an emotional intelligence on that. So,
No, it was, I mean, at least from my perspective, and of course, we're talking about us again now. It was
isn't that
easy.
what we do?
Yeah,
Like every time we get on
a
these
little bit.
microphones?
Well, it was easy for us
Yeah.
because we had great communication with these guys to start with.
Mhm.
But I think who we're really talking to in this episode are new people,
Yeah, okay. That's fair.
right?
Yeah.
Because the new people in the lifestyle who aren't full swap, but would love to have another
Yeah.
girl in the bedroom, but they've looked on STC or SLS or Cassidy or any of the millions of sites that are out there and seen that there's only 5 single girls, 4 of which they don't wanna have sex with because they're not
Sure.
a physical
Okay.
match, and then one of which they've sent 3 messages to and never heard anything back from because she's a catfish.
Okay.
So they go, "Okay, there are no single girls. What are we gonna do?"
Yeah. So I think it's a level up to four-way dating is the best way that I can explain it, that there has to be a four-way connection, that all of you get along, you enjoy each other's company, you're playing, full swap, same room, and I think it's a level up post that dynamic in most cases. I think it'd be very hard to skip that facet and go right to unicorn swapping per se, because everyone does have to be very comfortable. The girls have to be into each other. The guys have to be comfortable, self-soothing, being alone. They have to be to their wife and the other guy's wife.
Mhm.
So,
What changes
or
what
person,
changes if
spouse,
it's the
whatever.
guys that go to do different sides?
Is that called manicorning? Somebody used that today and I was like, is that right? Because that's
That's giving the guy a lot of credit because first of all,
funny.
to be any kind of a
I don't
corn, you have to be rare, and there's 500 billion dudes that wanna have sex with random people.
I
So
just
there's nothing unicorn about a guy.
I'm just gonna struggle saying it because it doesn't feel good coming out of my mouth. So,
What
manicorning,
about coming in your mouth?
different story.
Okay, just checking.
But that is another one. There's plenty of women in this space that would love an opportunity for MFM or even FMM. Like,
Yeah, if
maybe
it's a
that's
bi
a
guy,
facet
yeah.
too. Like, but I also think maybe that's not maybe even less common because there tend to be more single guys out there. And if that's
So they probably don't need it. If you want a
I
single
don't I
guy,
don't know. Like,
yeah.
I think we in our current dynamic would definitely be open to it,
Mhm.
and I think could potentially be well received. But I don't know that it would be as in high demand as unicorn swapping. But call me on my shit.
I would say you're probably right. I think there's almost no demand for it because if you wanna find a guy, all you have to do is leave the house and stop fast. They're right behind you. They'll run right up
I
your
know
ass.
though. Even
It's
at one
but well, and you don't want the cavalcade of dick pics that fly at your face online every day, but it happens.
cavalcade. I
What?
love you. You're trying to get me all turned on now with your fucking mm,
Sorry.
dictionary brain. I love it. Your lexicon.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't mean to fine,
Use a big word when you apologize, please.
fine. You're standing at the end of a hallway and there's a hot dog howitzer firing at your face. I don't know what to call it, but I just know there's a billion dick pics flying at you all the time. And it doesn't matter whether we're talking about STC, SLS, Cassidy, or OnlyFans. It's a fucking billion dicks a minute coming your way. And I just think that you don't have to try, but to bring another girl into the bedroom is a lot harder,
Yeah, I agree. So
but it can be done. And the
it can
unicorn
be
swap
done.
is one way to do it.
Yeah. So if that's a dynamic you're interested in, I encourage you to talk to your partner. And if you have a couple in your life that could be potential, yeah, talk to your partner and maybe consider talking to them. It worked really well for me being the representative to bring it to the table and do it with my counterpart on the other
Mhm.
side. That just seemed like the most ethical and reasonable introduction. But who knows? Other dynamics could exist out there.
Yeah.
That's what worked for us.
I do think that something you just kind of touched on is super important. Make sure when you approach this with another couple and say, hey, we were kind of thinking about this unique dynamic to get a check box in something that's a fantasy for us. Be honest,
Yeah.
because it may sound to them like you're not interested in their partner. And make sure that they know that's not the case. That's not why you're bringing this up, that you have an interest in checking something off of your personal box. I think that, especially in my case, where I came from years ago, that my own insecurities would have led me to feel really badly and take it the wrong way and say, "Oh, I know exactly why you want what you want, and sure, fuck it, I guess I'll just walk away." And that, by the way, does not ingratiate yourself to those other people. It doesn't make them feel good. It doesn't make them feel like they asked a good question.
Yeah.
And there's not going to be healthy communication or follow up that comes after that because now they feel like they have hurt your feelings or fucked you over. So they don't want to be honest anymore.
You make a solid point.
So I think it's really how you frame it in the first place. And I think having the girls start the conversation is a good start, like you said. And make sure that when you start that conversation, just going to reiterate that point one more time. I'm going to stop just short of calling that pro tip number 4, but do make sure that you articulate yourself completely that this is an exchange, not an exclusion. That is important. I'm going to say it one more time. This is an exchange, not an exclusion. That's why we call it the unicorn swap.
Yeah.
And I think it works. I mean, I think it's fun, and I think it's a way to get that FMF checkbox without having to bring home SARS and a crazy chick because we did
It
it.
for us, it's probably been one of the better experiences we've had in the dynamic, and I'm grateful for it, and I glad we're sharing that because maybe it'll turn out well for somebody else.
Yeah, and if you'd ever like to know
And
the
if it
lyrics to Britney Spears 3, I remember every fucking word because I heard the song 361 times in a row. That happened.
she was cute, though.
She was hot. That did happen.
Anyway.
It was I still blame
Alright.
you. You're the one that stole her from the couple.
I haven't done it then.
But that, folks, is some time on the unicorn swap.
Yeah. So,
It was kind of fun.
oh, it's a good time. I'm looking forward to more.
Yeah.
Oh, you meant the
You're looking forward to doing
conversation.
it again. You're such a dirty slut sometimes. I love you.
Hey, I love that I have a space, a safe space to be my most authentic self.
I love your authentic space.
It does include a little bit of a dirty side.
Yeah,
So,
it's not so bad. Hey, do you want to tell everybody where to find us before we go bouncing off to? We're going to come
yeah.
back for Whiskey of the Month here in just a minute.
All right. So we are Casual Swinger everywhere. You can find us at casualswinger.com. If you'd like to shoot us an email, ask us questions, podcast@casualswinger.com. You can also find us on Twitter, well, X now, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
No shit.
And the dating sites that we utilize, if you'd like to find us there, STCSLS and Cassidy.
There you go. Folks, we're going to be back in a hot second with Whiskey of the Month. You guys hang in there. We'll see you in a flash.
Is there music when this happens? I don't remember.
I just was waiting for you because you were supposed to bring us back and you were just staring at us like, and she's over there walking like an Egyptian. And I'm like, what are we doing?
We're back for Whiskey of the Month. My apologies, a little rusty
I'm sorry.
over here.
What was it again?
Candy is dandy, but whiskey makes you frisky.
Oh, what is that button, dude? It sounds dirty.
Thank you, Starry. Whiskey of the Month it is.
So yes, we're back with Whiskey of the Month.
We are back with Whiskey of the Month.
I'm excited about this one. This is actually one I do enjoy partaking in, although it is a departure.
It's a big departure for us because normally, Whiskey of the Month for us here at Casual Swinger, obviously we have a lot of qualifications, has to be available in at least 40 states. Has to be under $60 for us this season. But we usually stay away from celebrity brands.
Yeah.
And celebrity brands are usually, they're only that celebrity's, product in name only. And I don't know that this one is that much different, even though, this one tends to be somewhat steeped in a lot of the lore around this particular guy. So the whiskey of the month for March 2024 is Heaven's Door Straight Tennessee Bourbon.
Yes. And I love this one. The celebrity entity that's tied to this bourbon is Bob Dylan. I'm a fan of Bob Dylan. He is a singer-songwriter, if you're not familiar, very prominent in the 60s. A lot of his lyrics to his songs can be, applied as poetry.
Well, he was the voice of a generation.
Entire generation. And he's in the top 5 lists that I've seen. If he's not number 1, he's right up there.
I think he actually gave a voice to a generation of people that wanted to be famous musicians and knew they couldn't fucking sing. Because Bob Dylan...
Isn't that Tom Waits?
He sounds like Tom Waits and Bob Dylan should start a band.
Oh my God, I would so be there for that.
They could call themselves the Terribles.
Don't toy with my emotions and take that back right now. I mean, Mr. Tambourine Man, come on.
Well, here's the thing. Bob Dylan is a folk singer, and he wrote songs that mattered because he wrote things that mattered, and they just became songs. And so in 2018, and this is not an old company we're talking about, folks. This company is only 6 years old.
Yeah.
And by the way, they sell it. This whiskey is a 6-year whiskey. So the whiskey is about as old as the company.
Yeah. So we've done some young whiskeys. We did Bibb and Tucker, which is also a pretty young one.
That was a 6-year also.
So
I think you're spot on with that one. But so let's talk about Heaven's Door a little bit, where it comes from. Obviously, like we said, it is a celebrity brand in association with Bob Dylan. But Bob Dylan obviously is not a master distiller. As a matter of fact, the master distiller for Heaven's Door his name is Ryan Perry. And Ryan Perry is their master distiller and their co-founder. And he worked for spirits giant Diageo for a long time after graduating from Michigan State. This is back in 2008. Now, this guy, he worked in a lot of different roles for Diageo, which let him work with a lot of different distillers and blenders. Of course, while he was working on the North American whiskey sales team, he met a new partner, a guy named Mark Bashala. Now, Mark is the CEO of Heaven's Door Spirits. Don't spill it, drink it. But Spirits, he was the co-founder of Angel's Envy, which is another whiskey of the month here on Casual Swing.
it's actually a common drinker in this house. If we had 5 common drinkers, Angel's Envy is high on the list.
We always have a bottle of
And I
Angel's.
love that it's more readily available when we go out to
we drink that when we go out in public. I agree.
Mhm.
However, Mark was a co-founder at Angel's Envy, and at the time, he was CEO of the brand's parent company, Angel's Share Brands, which owns Angel's Envy. Now, eventually, that was sold to Bacardi in 2015, and he still works hand in hand with Ryan Perry, who, in addition to working as master blender, is also the president of the Spirits Investment Partnership, which is a group that invests in young spirits brands and grows those brands.
Yeah, there's a whole financial conglomerate, an institution behind a lot of these brands. So Diageo is a big one out there.
Huge. They're maybe the biggest.
Probably them, MGP. Sazerac. Yeah. So after leaving Diageo, Ryan Perry invested in aged stocks of American whiskey from different distilleries in Kentucky, Tennessee, Indiana, and New York. And don't get me wrong, I love the heart and soul of where this comes from, the Tennessee, Kentucky area. But I love that they're expanding into different geographies, and bourbon is catching fire. Colorado, Utah, New Hampshire, I mean, you name it. There's so many other distilleries out there. Anyways, I digress. So over 4.5 years, Ryan built up an extensive collection and decided that it was time to get back into the brand business. So Ryan connected with Bob Dylan's entertainment attorney, which I'd love to know what that conversation was like. This sounds like a good idea. I'm going to make this leap and contact Bob
Well, and I
Dylan's
was like,
attorney.
why Bob Dylan? Bob Dylan and whiskey are not
He
synonymous.
must have the only thing I can surmise is he must have been a fan. I'd love to get a comment from him about what was the inspiration behind that.
Well, it was a few years before they had done the whole Heaven's Door thing. It was, I want 3 or 4 years. He had actually trademarked a name for a whiskey brand.
Bootleg, actually, it's right here. It says he had Bob Dylan bootlegged or had trademarked a name Bootleg whiskey in 2015. And when he reached out to see if he'd be interested in launching a brand, Perry didn't actually like the name bootleg because he didn't want customers to confuse the brand with moonshine, because moonshine at the time was a little bit trendy. There was a lot of stuff on social media. There were shows. People were making it and inappropriately. I don't know if you remember this, but people were trying to make it in their backyards. It was not going to go very well back then.
Yeah, it's a good way
It
to
was
die.
making
If
the
you don't know
news.
what you're doing, don't make moonshine.
So the bootleg refers to Dylan's rare and unreleased albums, actually, but the brand would find a good use for this name later on. And after a long process, the collaboration launches the Heaven's Door brand, named for perhaps Dylan's most famous song, Knocking on Heaven's Door.
You don't say.
Cheers to that.
You know what? That's what I say when I hit bottom with you. I'm knocking on heaven's door over and over and over again.
Dirty mildly turns me on. A little inappropriate for where we're at right now.
You're a little hot right now, aren't you? Okay, then.
Yeah.
Back to the whiskey. So the goal is to create a unique product for Heaven's Door, but maybe slightly different from everything else that's currently on the market. And the cool part, if you guys don't remember, Angel's Envy was the first blended whiskey to be introduced in the American market. So the fact that they're founders of Heaven's Door came from Angel's Envy means that they had experience doing things that were very different from how things were already done in the American whiskey market. So they wanted to create something that was different from everything else that was on the market. He was conscious of the perception of celebrity brands. Like we just said, we don't really review celebrity whiskey because it usually fucking sucks. I'm sorry. But he wanted to make sure the product could stand on its own merit in terms of quality and in flavor.
Yeah, and I love this in true artist spirit. So each Heaven's Door bottle features a copy of an iron gateware created and sold by Bob Dylan. So he creates these ironworks in a studio outside of LA. And I believe it's called Black Buffalo. I mean, he uses reclaimed metal objects to actually make these. So, and he gets them from like scrap yards, like across America, like travels or it gets them online, gets them from across America. And these gates are sold to other celebrities for more than $200,000. But on the bottle, I'm sorry, that's how prolific this man is.
How about who the hell pays $200,000 for a gate to say that this old folk singer made it?
But also, so there are different expressions of Heaven's Door.
Oh, lots of them.
So the other ones in there, they're more expensive. But I love that some of them come with lyrics.
Yeah, they do, and which is pretty
they're really cool. Like it's a novel. It's a what is it called? Not a sales pitch, a gimmick. Maybe a little bit of a gimmick.
A little bit of a gimmick, yeah.
And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I found it endearing because of the history and how tied in Bob Dylan as a persona and an artist it is. I like that. So.
Fair enough. And it's interesting. We talk about Bob Dylan in this brand, but the reality is he's really not involved in the day-to-day running of it. He's not a whiskey guy. So, but he is very creative. Obviously, he's an artist, a writer, a craftsman, an investor. He's a lot of different, and apparently he's a real dick about the details too. So they say that he adds a lot of value to the brand just with his presence and his persona. Now, something that he said, the gates appeal to me because of the negative space they allow. They can be closed, but at the same time, they allow the seasons and the breezes to enter and flow. They can shut you out or they can shut you in. And in some way, there's no difference. That's a quote from Bob Dylan and the guy that really inspired this whiskey in the first place. I think that quote applies, honestly, to spirits too. It can shut you out or it can shut you in. And sometimes there's no difference, right? Because some people get more exuberant or more, outgoing when they drink. Some people shut down and get all sad and introverted. In reality, it's the same thing that puts you in the same place, just like a gate does. So I think as far as Heaven's Door goes, it's kind of an allegory for the idea of consuming spirits in the first place. Yeah. See, you learn something when you listen to Casual Swinger, not just listen to Mickey bitch about single chicks being nuts.
The whole time I had it Knocking on Heaven's Door playing in the back of my head.
You just know what Heaven's Door is now. It's in your pants.
Somebody please help me.
All right, so tell me about the nose, the palate, the finish. We've drank a lot of Heaven's Door in this house.
It is located between the eyes and the mouth.
Oh, good.
Usually, not always, but most of the time.
Oh,
so on the nose and some of the things you could smell. So, just kidding. Orange marmalade, caramel, honey, vanilla, oak. It does have a nice intensity to it. So when you sniff the bottle, like you get a lot at once. notes.
You do.
And I actually very much enjoy that because I know it's going to be usually it means it's going to be a complex flavor profile. And there's potentially going to be sweet and spice notes in that, which is kind of my sweet spot with young bourbons like this. The real test is it going to be hot on the palate and give you a little bit of Kentucky hug, or is it going to be a little smoother, hot in the back for a hot second and then a Kentucky hug? Because when it's hot up front and when they're young like that, I think it takes away from the experience because it numbs you to the other flavors.
Sure.
And
how much pain is this going to cause me?
Right. And I do like testing them neat. I do prefer this on a rock with a little bit of a natural water back. So say it's poured and brought to the table, I would feel the glass, and if it's cool, I'd sip it immediately. I would not let it get an intense water back for the first time I tried it. It's okay to let it stretch out a bit over time. Neat, it can be a little hot.
Yeah. Oh, and I think a lot of 6 years are going to fall into that category, right? That right out of the gate, a 6 year is going to be a little hot, but whether it's on the rocks, that gradual water back that Mallory just talked about, or whether we talk about just adding a few drops of water to open it up a little bit. And again, so she talked about the nose.
Like really cold water too. If I'm going to do the eyedropper. And literally some people 2 drops and it changes the entire profile. They're not kidding. I usually do about 3 or 4.
Well, and that in a lot of ways, when we're talking about the palate.
And that's a 1 finger,
Sure.
1 finger pour.
You never take just 1 finger. But, well, you like whiskey.
First of all, not true, but sometimes not.
Were you being dirty? I was talking about whiskey.
I was talking about whiskey too.
Oh, okay.
Where's your mind?
So the palate can open up and change, by the way. The palate can open up and change with waterbacks like we were just talking about. But initially, you're going to pick up for, orange and caramel. So orange on the nose, caramel on the palate, maybe butter or a buttery flavor comes out of, and by the way, that's fairly common across Heaven's Doors mash bills.
Yeah.
Across the board.
Yeah.
Cherry, vanilla, and
vanilla very much so. Cherry and some of their expressions more than others.
Yes.
Yeah.
And definitely kind of maybe a little more of a sweet palate to it before the burn hits it, for the Kentucky hug.
Yeah.
And it's a Tennessee
Well,
whiskey, so
and-
it's a Tennessee hug, I guess. But
You know what I noticed? We call it Tennessee hug, but there is a difference. So, and I don't know if they were correct or not, but it makes sense to me when they refer to it as pepper.
Mhm.
That pepper hot, that heat that comes is the back half of the
Breathe it.
palate. Feel it, but it's not in the front. It's not here. It's here.
sure.
And sorry about that. I very much enjoyed that one, and so that's a pepper influence.
Yeah, I tend to enjoy that in ryes. Ryes work for me for that because I like that.
I only like it in bourbon because if I feel it in a rye, it's too sweet and becomes overwhelming for my senses.
Sure. So last up, we're just covering, the finish. I mean, obviously we talked, Mallory talked about the peppery heat, any younger whiskey, 6 year, honestly, 6 years approaching the sweet spot for whiskey. 8 to 10 years is just, it's amazing.
That's your money's out.
That is my money's out,
Young,
yeah.
Younger whiskeys and bourbons can be tough.
Yeah, they can be. And I like whiskey fucking period. But I think that this particular whiskey it does have a little bit of a hotter finish on it. But again, it's a little peppery, but it does have those sweet notes in it. I think it's a phenomenal Tennessee whiskey. It is a sourced whiskey, meaning everything at Heaven's Door is sourced. Some people don't like that. They think we shouldn't talk about sourced whiskeys.
Yeah.
I'm not a purist. I'm a whiskey drinker.
Yeah. So,
And MGP makes good shit. Diageo makes some good shit. There's a lot of people that make good shit and OEM it to other people.
and they talk. Sometimes they use the term juice or mash, which means that when it's made elsewhere, and then they source it, they buy the barrels and then finish it themselves.
That's true. And I think there's a lot of people, at least from what I've seen in some of my whiskey circles, that believe that Heaven's Door is a Dickel product. And that is not true. The mash bills do not match up. So if Dickel's making it, they're not making it out of anything that they sell to anybody else. But Dickel is honestly just a brand.
It's also very fun to say.
Dickel.
Yeah.
You want to tickle my Dickel?
Anyway,
I was trying to talk you into it. But hey, guys.
right?
That is Whiskey of the Month for March 2024. It is Heaven's Door Straight Tennessee Bourbon Whiskey. It is a $50, 50. You can find it cheaper if you look hard. You can find it for as little as about $30 on sale. It is a very inexpensive but damn good whiskey.
Yeah.
A good sipper, it honestly
Actually,
belies its price point.
it does, and I would say that it's right in the zone for cocktails too.
Oh, yeah.
If
Great
you're
cocktail
gonna
whiskey.
do traditional bourbon cocktails, a whiskey sour, fucking mwah, chef
Yeah, yeah.
kiss.
Good shit.
Yeah.
Good shit. Can't complain. But this has been fun. It's probably going to be a hell of a challenge to edit because we're still learning how to edit video. We're still learning how to
I
do.
love how he says I leave this room and my job is done.
Yeah, she's right.
I
When we leave this room, she does not do any more with this podcast. She has done her part. But she does literally everything else around this house, so don't let her fool you.
This is true.
I literally would be sitting here naked because all my clothes would be dirty if it wasn't for her. I probably wouldn't be fed. I'd be emaciated.
You
I'd
can
be a skeleton.
be a bite.
I wouldn't even have underwear. I wouldn't wear them without you. You're everything to me. You're my underwear genie.
The more you know, kid.
The magic dresser. That's it. Boy, she hates that term, by the way.
Yeah, wait till the cameras go off.
No, I'm going to get it. Woo! I'm going to
Okay.
get my ass wet. All right, guys, this has been a ball. You guys do know where to find us because Mallory told you in the last segment. So we're just going to say thank you so much for listening and enjoying this episode on the unicorn swap of Casual Swingers. Say bye, Mallory.
Bye, Mallory.
There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to Casual Swinger. We'll see you next time.